Today we're going to talk about how a small startup game ended up becoming the go-to monster truck game for all fans of the sport. Don't go anywhere. This is going to be full of information, and if you are a fan of monster trucks, I'm going to show you how you can get involved and live your dreams as a monster truck racer. Let's go! You know, growing up a monster truck fan, we haven't really been showered with the most amazing monster truck games. Of course, you have your Steel Titans that was released for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. But as a monster truck fan, if you're looking for realism, that game doesn't really deliver. Yeah, it's fun, arcadey stuff that you can have fun with your kids playing. And if you're a monster truck fan, yeah, it might scratch the itch for you to get inside of one of these trucks and race, even though you can't actually get inside the cab in most of these games. And sure, for the casual monster truck fan, these Steel Titan games or these Monster Truck Championship games may scratch an itch that will hold you over for a little bit of time, but those games end up becoming incredibly repetitive, and you don't really get that monster truck simulation that so many people desire as monster truck fans. Not to mention, if you're in your 30s like I am, that a lot of the times the trucks that you grew up watching are not represented in these Steel Titan games. And if you were to play a more indie style monster truck game like Monster Truck Championship, you don't get any truck at all. You have to make one because licensing rights and stuff. But what if I were to tell you there is a monster truck game out there that was made by monster truck fans for monster truck fans that just kind of happened to piggyback off of a game that already had all of the physics that you could possibly want to enjoy monster trucks the way that they were meant to be enjoyed in a virtual environment? Well, allow me to introduce you to BeamNG.Drive. It is a driving simulator that's physics are second to none when it comes to PC games and driving simulators in general. In fact, any type of racing fan or just car enthusiast can get into BeamNG.Drive because it is a game that was designed by car lovers for car lovers. And when I got behind the wheel of a car for the first time in BeamNG.Drive, I was blown away by the realistic physics that a lot of these cars would experience. If you go 70 into a turn in a car that isn't meant to go 70 into a turn, you're gonna know because you're gonna smack the wall and destroy your car. Probably total it, because the damage functionality in this game is second to none. Because BeamNG.Drive was designed to deliver a realistic driving experience, something that a lot of these arcade games that you get on the Xbox or PS5 just can't deliver. And again, it's because of this realism that there is a bunch of sub-communities that have been created, whether you're a fan of NASCAR or drift racing or drag racing or just tuning the crap out of your car to see how fast it can go. BeamNG.Drive delivers on all of those things. I mean, you could even fly helicopters and planes in BeamNG.Drive. Now, I will say the flying simulation in BeamNG.Drive probably has a ways to go before it can catch up to something like DCS or Flight Simulator. But you could still try. I mean, you could drive a boat too. There's a boat simulator in this dang thing. And the only reason you could drive boats and planes and stuff in BeamNG.Drive is because of the mod community. So you could download BeamNG, have a great time with just the stuff that you get from the base game itself. However, what has created this cult following around this game is the mods community. These guys who in their free time create some of the most realistic mods that you will ever see in any video game. And it is because of the mod community that BeamNG has developed this cult following online that it has gotten. And one of the most impressive modding communities on BeamNG.Drive is around monster trucks. And I think this is due to a lack of there being a monster truck game that offers a realistic experience when it comes to racing monster trucks. And not only did I get a chance to sit down with some developers of these monster truck mods, but I also got a chance to sit down with some of the leaders of some of the popular leagues around monster truck racing on BeamNG.Drive. In fact, I've gotten so into the monster truck community within BeamNG.Drive that I've signed up for multiple leagues that will be starting in September, and I will be documenting that all on my third channel, Lately Gaming. So if that's something you're interested in watching me do, then go subscribe to Lately Gaming and watch me make a fool of myself in these monster truck leagues. In fact, one of the leagues that I'm going to be participating in this coming September is called the All Out Destruction League. They just finished up season 3, heading into season 4. That's 4 seasons of racing that they've done around monster trucks, all organized by a community of guys that just are big monster truck fans. I've happened to become friends with Evil Nexus, who is the guy that runs the All Out Destruction Tour, which happens to be one of the larger monster truck racing series in BeamNG.Drive. And I wanted to ask him, what is it that BeamNG.Drive and its monster truck mods are giving to monster truck fans that are making them forego the Steel Titan route and come over and race on BeamNG.Drive? And this is what he had to say.
Oh, I mean the monster truck aspect portion of it, let's be honest. most of us have been watching this since we were little, going up, smiles from one ear to the other, getting autographs from the drivers. All of us at some point or another have been wanting to get into the industry, and most people realize, it's a much harder task than it sounds to get into it. So it's a nice little way to kind of fill that void, I guess. And as far as people coming to the Beam aspect of it compared to one of Monster Jam's actual titles, really boils down to just the realism factor of it. Most of the games that Monster Jam is making is made for their younger crowd, so it's much more arcadey. While the graphics and everything else are there, the handling is just very arcadey. It's meant to hold the child's hand rather than give the adults the simulation feel they're looking for.
If you're watching this video, chances are you are a monster truck fan. And I think at some point in most of our lives, watching these trucks, many of us had that thought, I wonder if I could get in one of those and drive. And I think that that's what this league offers. But it's not just the fact that it's fun and it gives you a chance to, live out a childhood nostalgia dream. These leagues are actually incredibly competitive. And I wanted to ask Nexus about the competitive aspect of these leagues, and could this potentially turn into an esport?
As much as I would love for Beam to get to that extent, I don't think that will ever truly happen, just because Beam itself isn't really giving this the kind of support it would need to get to that point. Most stuff we're playing with is all just mods. It's a mod of a mod of a mod and a mod. And I know the guys right now, they're working on the BM chassis, which is supposed to be the more accurate real life one, which honestly it does handle, at least from somebody who's visually watched the trucks, it handles a lot more realistically than what we've been playing with. So that aspect, that might lead into esports a little easier. Without the actual core game developers giving support to this, I don't really see it making it to that extent.
Some of you may be sitting there thinking to yourself, I had no idea that this was even a thing and I'd love to get involved. So I asked Nexus, what would be the best way for you at home to get involved in some of these leagues?
So if you see this kind of stuff and you really wanted to get into it, the easiest way to go about it would be joining the Beam Monsters community. There's tons of league hosts in there that will kind of help point you in the right direction. That said, I will say there are some bad actors around that might just be mean in general when you ask a simple question like that, because they've seen the same question 1,000 other times. Otherwise, if you're scrolling around YouTube and you see another league make a video, 9 times out of 10 they have a Discord link, and one league will lead you to another, to another, to another.
I'll post a link to the Beam Monsters Discord down below in the description. If you are interested in getting involved in these leagues, you are more than welcome to go join, ask around. They do freestyle, racing, two-wheel skills, everything you see on TV is available, and actually most of the tracks are available because the tracks themselves are mods that people spend a lot of time working on. In fact, if you have ever been to a Monster Jam event, chances are you could find that exact track that you were at that day on the Beam Monsters website. That's how dedicated these guys are to creating replicas, documenting the history of Monster Jam that you can go relive in each truck that was there, because there are thousands of trucks available. If you've ever seen a monster truck, chances are it's in BeamNG. In fact, a funny moment happened with a friend of mine named Little, where he actually ended up finding a monster truck on the server that his family used to own. What are the odds of that? This community goes above and beyond. It is a community of monster truck fans making content for monster truck fans. That's what makes this so special. Now, say you are a fan of Monster Jam, but you crave something a little more vintage. Well, BeamNG's got you covered there too, because there's an organization called Beam Motorsports, which is the second largest mod community behind Beam Monsters, whose primary focus is giving you a chance to relive some of your favorite monster truck moments from the 80s and early 90s. As a kid, USA 1 was my favorite truck, so imagine my surprise when I could go hop into the cockpit of the USA 1 truck from 1988 and drive that sucker against Bigfoot 4. But when I say these guys have an eye for detail, I kid you not, because not only are these trucks exact replicas of the trucks that were there in the 80s and the 90s, but they replicate the tracks they ran on down to every little detail. In fact, when I was sitting doing my interview with them, they were going through old footage from the 80s, making sure that every single sponsorship logo, ramp, crush car, stunt is exactly where it would have been that night at that event that you can play on for free. That's right, they do this all out of the kindness of their hearts. And on top of all that, they also have a league of their own where they race a lot of these old monster trucks. It's called Retro Revolution. It is awesome. They put together an entire show that is presented like a TV show that would have been presented back in the 80s. Now, for copyright reasons, these guys don't run the popular trucks of the time, but instead they encourage their devs to create their own trucks, and then they run those, almost creating new legacies with old trucks, which I think is awesome. And before, these races were only open to the devs. But just last night, good news to you guys at home who want to go race those 80s and 90s trucks, they just opened up a new league called Community Clash that you yourself watching this video can go try to compete in.
We'd like to be the first to tell you guys about the Community Clash. What is the Community Clash? It's going to be a BeamNG.Drive online multiplayer racing series for the Beam Motorsports community.
And the coolest thing about it all is that you got to qualify just like you would have had to do back in the day just to get a chance to race. I'll also be putting their Discord link down below in the description, so if you're interested in racing in the Beam Motorsports 80s, early 90s style of racing, this is your opportunity to do that as well. I got a chance to sit down with the Beam Motorsports guys as well, and I wanted to ask them a few questions about their league, what got them excited about starting this league, and why the 80s in particular.
I mean, the Beam Motorsports idea, that was kind of my brainchild that I came up with. I know myself and Rudd, we started off back in the day with MTM, with Monster Truck Madness, and then I didn't start modding it until MTM2. I'm not sure about Rudd on his end, but that's where my love started at. Grew up watching monster trucks. That's my childhood. It just trickled over because I'd see what everybody is doing in the modding community there, and I wanted to do my own stuff, and it just kind of blossomed from there. Any game that I play that I can mod, I'll do something with, but monster trucks has always been my love, and it's just exploded with age.
I'm new to the group. I got maybe a year and a half in with them. I've never really been into modding anything. You know, like when you're a kid, you're like, man, I wish I had something. You know, you would play Monster Truck Madness 64 or Thunder Truck Rally or something like that. Like, I wish this was better. I wish this was, you know, you could just crush cars with it. You know, simple stuff. I always liked the exhibition style, like USHRA did, where it was the battle of the monster trucks, and they would just come out, crush cars, and it'd be over with. There's never really been a video game that would allow you to do that. And then I found this mod for BeamNG, and I was absolutely hooked. All I really ever mess with anymore. I wanted to make my own skins for it. Somebody directed me to Bobcat.
Hi, I'm Bobcat.
I'm Rudd. And I'm Ben.
I guess if you wanted to put direct terms on it, I guess you'd say I'm more like the lead. I'm the one doing, well, I'm doing all the modding for the most part.
I just want to jump in here and add that if you go on Beam Monsters, some of the best mods on there are from Bobcat. In fact, I'm going to be rocking Bobcat's Bigfoot in my upcoming league. Bobcat is one of the best modders when it comes to monster trucks in Beam Monsters. I just want to be very clear about that so that y'all know who he is.
Our lead skin guys, Rudd, like his skins are amazing. They're on point. He's very nitpicky whenever he does a skin. Like, he wants it to be as perfect as he can possibly get it, and we will spend hours trying to find out information on a particular truck that he's working on, or even on venues. Like, we spent, I think, 4 hours one night just trying to find out one banner in a stadium. But that's just the level of detail we go into because we take pride in what we do.
Yeah, and when we all help each other out when we get into a pinch, you know, I might need a video idea, and I'll bounce some stuff off of some of the other guys in the group, or, you know, Rudd needs help finding, you know, doing research on a skin. I'll get in there, and same thing with modeling. Bobcat will be like, hey, does this look right? You know, or, you know, he's not very mechanically inclined. He doesn't know a lot about engines, whereas I grew up with that kind of stuff. My father was a mechanic, and I always did things with him, so I picked up a lot of knowledge from that. So being able to pinpoint, those valve covers don't look right, or that injector hat or something, that piece doesn't look correct, and then we can get it straightened out to where it looks right.
What is it about that era that you think is worth immortalizing, if you will?
The preservation of the history, similar to what we've got going on with the International Monster Truck Museum. We want to make sure that we are memorializing the trucks that existed back then. There's a lot of trucks that didn't get the notoriety that they deserve. We want to make sure across the board that we are covering that palette so that everybody knows what they were.
It's hard for kids to understand what it meant to us as you know, late 30s, early 40s and beyond people when you would see that. I mean, you go to a monster truck show nowadays and it's more kid based, whereas back then it wasn't kid based at all. It was just beefy guys with big huge trucks that ran over stuff, and it's hard to put into words what 5-year-old 6-year-old Ben thought when he saw that, because it was unbelievable.
Piggyback off of what you both said. In addition to that, it was the Wild West. Like, everything was fresh. Everybody was trying their own thing. It was very inventive. Like, if you look at all the trucks that was out there, all of them was very unique in their design. Everybody would talk to one another, and then somebody'd see something that one guy done on his truck, so he'd try to do that to his and see how it worked. The innovation, to me, seems to have kind of gone by the wayside, because now everything is essentially prefabricated. Like, you can go to, the metal shop and get one of their chassis, or somebody else and buy a chassis, Dan Patrick, and you just got to put everything together. It's like a kit. Where back then, they fabricated everything per truck.
If you go perusing through our replica skin pack, a lot of these trucks, you didn't know about them unless you saw them on TV or in a magazine or in a picture somewhere. So a lot of these guys, like Rudd was saying, it's to give these guys their shine that, you might not have seen them, but they existed. They were real.
Yeah, there was a lot of trucks that Rudd would do the skin for, and he's like, check this out. I look at him like, when the heck did that run? What is that? And he'll tell me, and I'm like, I'll be in it. I never knew. Insane, just the amount of trucks, just as display trucks, that was out there that never competed, that are just beautiful pieces of work. Whenever I was in Beam Monsters and part of the dev team, I'd heard many times that they wanted to include the CRD mod, like they wanted to have it on the repo, and they actually wanted to include it within the base game. But then I don't know the particulars of it, don't claim to, but to my understanding, it was something about when they decided to pull the mod from the repo and do the website. That's when the legal aspects would have came into play, because that's when all the Beam lore on it went away, and they started doing replica things like we are. Now, have I considered maybe trying to revamp it a little bit so that it could go up on the repo? Minutely, because I do like to Beam more stuff. That's why, like a lot of stuff that I'll come up with, I try to incorporate that, because I like the freedom of being able to create your own little world with it all. I don't know that they'll ever get that far. Now, I was hopeful when I seen that they put the tractor tire in, so that gave me a little bit of glimmer of hope. And then when they came out with the Wyvern that actually works on water, that gave me a little bit more hope. Now, I've tried to incorporate some of the stuff that they've done with that into our tires that we currently have, but I don't know that Beam will ever fully get it implemented into the game.
We also have Retro Rampage on our channel. Now, that is my baby. That's what got me started into making videos and everything. And the current videos that we have on our YouTube page, they're from the very first videos that I ever made. So they're a little bit rough, but at the same time, it's a clear comparison of the old school trucks versus the new school, all the modern stuff. Where it's the old Leafer trucks. We plan on redoing the series and starting over basically with our current Leafer truck and using the CRD and racing them head to head.
So my interview with the Beam Motorsports guys lasted about 2 hours. I obviously can't incorporate the entire interview here, but if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. Maybe I will release that on one of my other channels so that you guys can hear the interview in its entirety if you're very interested in more about what the Beam Motorsports guys are doing. With that said, I hope that you guys got a good look into the monster truck culture within Beam itself. And more importantly, I've given you several opportunities to get involved yourself. If you've ever dreamed of being a monster truck driver, you have the modern trucks that you can run, you have the old style of trucks you can run. Down in my description, you will have links to all the information you could possibly want to go find out more about these channels. I want to specifically thank Beam Motorsports. I want to thank Evil Nexus from All Out Destruction Tour. I will be competing in both of those coming up on my Lately Gaming channel, which I will post down below as well. Go subscribe and you can watch me as I fumble my way through my first 2 seasons as a monster truck racer. And with that said, I hope to see you guys on the track. Peace.